In early 2000, two men walked into a high-rise office building in Dallas, Texas, carrying a proposal that sounded, to the executives sitting across from them, almost laughable. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, the co-founders of a struggling startup called Netflix, were bleeding cash. The dot-com bubble had just burst, wiping out billions in venture capital across Silicon Valley, and Netflix was burning through money fast. Desperate to keep their young company alive, they had arranged a meeting with John Antioco, the powerful chief executive officer of Blockbuster, the undisputed titan of home entertainment. Hastings made his pitch simple and direct. Netflix would hand over 50% of its business to Blockbuster, effectively becoming Blockbuster's online DVD rental arm, in exchange for $50 million. In return, Netflix would manage the digital side of the business, building out a web-based delivery model that could service customers right at home. Antioco and his executive team sat quietly listening to the presentation. When the meeting wrapped up, Antioco struggled to hold back a smile. To the leader of an empire worth billions, this tiny, unprofitable startup sending red paper envelopes through the mail felt like a niche curiosity at best. The offer was flatly rejected, and according to eyewitnesses, Blockbuster's leadership nearly laughed the Netflix founders out of the room. To understand why Blockbuster felt so invincible on that afternoon in Dallas, you have to understand the sheer, overwhelming magnitude of its dominant empire. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Blockbuster wasn't just a corporate brand, it was an essential American cultural institution. Founded in 1985 by David Cook, a former computer software entrepreneur, Blockbuster revolutionized the video rental industry by applying data science and massive scale to what had previously been a fragmented mom-and-pop market. Instead of dark, cramped local video stores with limited inventory, Blockbuster built brightly lit, cavernous retail locations stocked with thousands of tapes, categorized meticulously by genre. At its peak, Blockbuster operated over 9,000 stores worldwide, employing an army of 84,000 workers and generating over $5 billion in annual revenue. An astounding statistical reality defined their reach. Roughly 80% of the American population lived within a 10-minute drive of a Blockbuster storefront. Friday night was Blockbuster night across suburban America. Millions of families stood in those carpeted aisles under harsh fluorescent lights, clutching popcorn and candy, browsing wall after wall of plastic VHS cases. Blockbuster was a cash printing press, generating staggering sums of operational cash flow every single week. Yet beneath that glittering financial exterior lay a fundamental structural vulnerability, one that would ultimately serve as the catalyst for its ruin. Blockbuster's lucrative business model relied heavily on a hidden financial engine: late fees. When a customer rented a video and failed to return it within the designated 2 or 3 day window, Blockbuster charged a daily penalty fee. By the late 1990s, late fees accounted for roughly $800 million annually, representing nearly 16% of Blockbuster's total revenue and a massive portion of its net profits. In economic terms, Blockbuster was profiting directly from its own customers' friction, forgetfulness, and dissatisfaction. Enter Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, who recognized that very friction as a massive market opportunity. The popular origin story of Netflix claims Hastings was inspired to start the company after receiving a $40 late fee for an overdue VHS copy of Apollo 13 at his local video store. While the story was partly a clever marketing narrative, the underlying business core was deadly serious. Hastings realized that the physical friction of brick-and-mortar video rentals, driving to the store, finding out the movie you wanted was out of stock, and driving back to avoid penalties, created immense consumer frustration. Netflix introduced a radically simple solution: a flat monthly subscription model with no due dates, no late fees, and free home shipping via iconic red paper envelopes. Customers could hold on to 3 DVDs at a time for as long as they wanted. When they finished watching one, they simply slipped it back into a prepaid return envelope, dropped it in their mailbox, and the next movie on their digital queue would be shipped out automatically. It was a frictionless, customer-centric model built around convenience rather than penalizing consumer behavior. When John Antioco passed on purchasing Netflix for $50 million in 2000, his reasoning was not entirely illogical from a traditional balance sheet perspective. At the time, internet penetration in American households was still limited, dial-up connections were painfully slow, and the infrastructure for online video streaming was years away from reality. To a seasoned corporate executive managing thousands of high-yield physical retail properties, shipping physical DVDs back and forth through the United States Postal Service seemed like a slow, expensive, and low-margin logistical nightmare. What Antioco failed to grasp was the concept of exponential technology adoption and unit economics. By 2004, the competitive landscape had shifted dramatically. High-speed broadband internet was spreading rapidly across the country, DVD players had become cheap consumer commodities, and Netflix's subscriber base was swelling into the millions. Sensing a rising competitive threat, Antioco realized he had made a miscalculation and decided to launch a massive counteroffensive. He hired digital talent and launched Blockbuster Online, pairing the new web service with their physical stores through an aggressive program called Blockbuster Total Access. Blockbuster Total Access was a masterstroke of hybrid retail strategy. Customers could rent movies online, receive them in the mail, and when finished, exchange them in person at any local Blockbuster store for a brand new title free of charge. The customer got immediate gratification, and Blockbuster gained a massive structural advantage that Netflix couldn't match: physical footprint. Within months, Total Access was gaining millions of subscribers, rapidly closing the gap with Netflix and sending shockwaves through Silicon Valley. Reed Hastings would later admit that during this period, Blockbuster was actively squeezing Netflix's margins and putting immense financial pressure on the startup. Then came the catastrophic turning point, a brutal lesson in modern corporate governance and shareholder short-termism. Launching and scaling Blockbuster Online had required massive capital investments. Antioco had eliminated late fees under the banner of no more late fees and poured over $200 million into marketing and digital infrastructure to build Total Access. While the strategy was successfully taking market share from Netflix, it heavily suppressed Blockbuster's short-term quarterly profits. A high-profile activist investor named Carl Icahn had acquired a massive stake in Blockbuster and began waging a public board war against John Antioco. Icahn focused intently on the immediate financial losses, furious over executive compensation and the severe drag that the digital initiative was placing on traditional profit margins. Icahn argued that Blockbuster should abandon its expensive digital crusade and return to maximizing cash flow from its core physical retail stores. The internal warfare escalated until mid-2007, when Antioco was forced out of the company following an intense dispute over his executive bonus. To replace Antioco, the board brought in Jim Keyes, the former CEO of 7-Eleven. Keyes was a seasoned retail operator who viewed Blockbuster through a traditional brick-and-mortar lens. Believing that Blockbuster's future lay in physical stores, high-margin retail goods, and convenience store-style merchandise, Keyes rolled back the aggressive funding for Blockbuster Online, raised prices on Total Access, and redirected precious capital toward buying convenience products like candy, video games, and pop culture merchandise for retail shelves. It was a fatal misstep that handed the crown back to Netflix at the precise moment the digital revolution reached escape velocity. In 2007, the very same year Antioco departed, Netflix introduced its revolutionary Watch Now streaming feature, offering instantly streamable movies directly over the internet as part of its existing subscription. Hastings recognized that physical media, whether VHS tapes or optical plastic DVDs, was merely a temporary delivery mechanism. The real battle was for digital mindshare, convenience, and direct customer relationships. While Netflix invested heavily in data analytics, recommendation algorithms, and server infrastructure to pioneer the future of digital entertainment, Blockbuster was weighed down by a crushing mountain of corporate debt. Years earlier, in 1999, Viacom had spun off Blockbuster in an initial public offering, saddling the company with nearly $1 billion in debt. Every single month, Blockbuster was required to pay tens of millions of dollars just to service the interest on those massive loans, capital that should have been deployed into technology research and digital transition. The dominoes fell with terrifying speed. As broadband internet became ubiquitous and streaming took off, consumer foot traffic inside physical retail stores collapsed. Blockbuster was caught in an impossible squeeze, dropping revenue from store rentals, vanishing late fee income, fixed long-term retail leases on thousands of physical properties, and a massive debt load coming due. The economics of operating expensive real estate to rent plastic physical discs crumbled almost overnight. By 2010, the financial hemorrhage was fatal. Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, carrying over $900 million in debt. The company was eventually auctioned off in 2011 to Dish Network for a fraction of its former glory. Over the following decade, thousands of stores closed their doors forever, liquidating inventory and tearing down the iconic blue and yellow ticket signs that had once dominated commercial strip malls across the globe. By 2019, only a single franchise Blockbuster store remained open on Earth, operating as a nostalgic tourist destination in Bend, Oregon. Meanwhile, Netflix transformed into one of the most powerful media and entertainment titans in human history. By pivoting entirely from mail-order DVDs to digital streaming, and later investing billions into original content production, Netflix built a global subscriber base exceeding hundreds of millions of users, achieving a market capitalization that has frequently surpassed $200 billion, more than 4,000 times the $50 million price tag John Antioco refused to pay in that Dallas conference room. The fall of Blockbuster remains one of the most iconic corporate cautionary tales in economic history. It illustrates the lethal danger of the innovator's dilemma, the phenomenon where a market leader refuses to disrupt its own lucrative current revenue model in order to build the business model of tomorrow. Blockbuster did not lose its empire because it lacked the physical resources, brand recognition, or customer base. It lost because its leadership prioritized short-term cash flow and corporate preservation over consumer convenience and technological evolution, proving that in the ruthless arena of modern capitalism, the companies that refuse to innovate will inevitably be replaced by those that do.